100. 100 times. This is the 100th time of this podcast, Talking Shop. And we don't have a pizza party. We've got a coffee party. Coffee and beards and just gratitude for the two of you guys. I can't think of a better way to ring in this monumental episode than with just some gratitude. I met a lady with her husband at our camp here in Tustin just a few days ago, and she said, I've listened to every 99 one of those episodes. Listen to all 99, and some of the topics that we talk about, it was bringing her to tears. Like we're moving mountains and we don't even know it, guys. I'm so proud of this pod. And I'm happy to see you both, Coach Flicky, Coach Chop, in the house. Let's start with you, Chopperoo. What are your thoughts on doing this 100 times?
I mean, that's wild, man. That's a big milestone. And my thought is let's do it another 100. But yeah, we've gotten great feedback. One of the best feedback we got was from our VIPs, our Patreons that said, because we were kind of concerned. We're like, hey, is it okay every once in a while when we don't have a big time guest, one of these guys from TV? And they're like, we're on there to hear you guys and hear Flick Money and hear your guys' insight. If you have the big guest, that's great, but that's just a cherry on top. So it was cool to hear that we were the steak on the plate, not the kale on the side, the little
Not
garnish,
that
if
there's
you will.
anything wrong with that.
No,
Nothing
no,
wrong with
hey,
kale.
love a good garnish. Flick Money.
Well, I mean, yeah, 100. Hard to believe. I remember starting to listen to you all do it and be like, wow, I just uh, was enamored by just the intentionality, the amount of effort it takes to get this thing together, how knowledgeable you two were. Getting to come on here and join the crew here for this last leg of the journey has been an honor. And I would be remiss if we also didn't acknowledge that 42 years ago today, 42 uh, we were all graced. Thank goodness for Doug and Becky Lowe. We were graced with the presence of one James T. Coach Ball Game.
Let's
Happy
go.
birthday, happy 42nd, Coach. And as someone who's known you now for 20 years, just thank you. Thanks for still doing it. Thanks for all the way you wake up every morning, pouring your heart and guts into making this world a better place. One wiffle ball at a time. We love you, man.
Oh man. Well, I'm honored, Coach Flicky. Thank you for saying that. I've got, if you're watching on the YouTube, a shirt, and it's me and my daughter's favorite show to watch together. It's a Bluey shirt, and my youngest daughter bought me this shirt and gave it to me this morning. I had breakfast in bed. They had a whole menu laid out for me. My oldest daughter bought me a little speaker, little Bluetooth speaker that I can carry around and play my Hootie and the Blowfish, tape cassettes and compact discs on. Or I hear there's a dentist involved, and it's like there's blue teeth that you hook into the CD player. But can't wait for that. And then Mrs. Ballgame got me a new pair of shoes, municipal. No free ads, but they are really comfy. And I think Mark Wahlberg is a cobbler now, and he weaved them himself. So thanks, Mark. You boy, talk about a life arc, really full circle. Um, yeah, 42 years, man. I have text messages coming through, and I think one of the things I want to do, I want to have a great conversation with two incredible friends right here, and then I just want to chat with friends. That's been a big part of my life. So there's the college text threads, the high school text threads, family, my Tara Jean's side of the family, all my sisters and brothers-in-law. I don't even call them in-laws. They know I don't really love animals, so they were just sending me pictures of pets and animals. Heartfelt messages from my college crew, which I'm sure everybody has their place to go find their true self. For me, it's that time in college, 18 to 22. I found myself there, and that if I need to go back to finding James Lowe, it's with that crew. So some of those friends, Mrs. Ballgame has invited to Las Vegas this weekend, and we're just gonna hang. We're gonna sit at the pool. We're gonna chat. We're gonna laugh. Um, I don't really gamble. I'm not good at it, but I will certainly have a couple of decaf coffees and watch. So that this is it. Years is one thing, but I think Flick Money, you might have told me this. Relationships, friendships, that and just the stories that you can create. That's what age is. So I hopefully I'll live to be 100 years old, but a billion relationships, friendships, and stories galore. So um, love it. Happy to be born, mom and dad. Thank you. Um, and this on the 100th episode. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I want to go back to this family that we coached a camp this past Friday. It was baseball, and then we had a softball camp. Shout out to Allie Gator, our softball lead here in Orange County, crushing it. But this family, they have connections with you, Chad Chop. The husband, I believe his coach was your brother. And your brother's name is what, Chad Chop?
That would be Casey Chop,
Casey
Chopman50 at
Chop.
yahoo.com.
So the connections were going nutty, and they're loyal listeners of the pod. They're teachers as well, so they get a lot of these topics. But um, I just don't think there's many podcasts that do deep dives into what we talk about of coaching kids and coaching parents and figuring things out through our own failures. And we're pretty self-deprecating. Chopper, you were talking last week about how you've had struggles with your first two sons, figuring it out, learning, and you've used it um, uh, on the next two sons. But yeah, maybe we'll start with you, Chopper. Just a a favorite episode, a highlight or two of this run that's been almost 3.5 years long now.
Man, I think every episode brings something. Obviously, when you get the names that we've gotten on with Doc and Mookie Betts, and just hear them talk about how much character matters and how much being present matters. Mookie talked about breathing and visualizing, and Mookie talked about how important it is to be kind to a stranger because you just never know what they're going through. And sometimes a smile or being present in that conversation instead of just like, oh yeah, what's up, and keep moving, like giving a stranger 30 seconds can really have an impact. So um, I'm really proud of the guys that we've had on to show that different side of Major League Baseball, where it's the Major League human. And it's really what we focused on when we bring a guest on. Um, they're a good human. And so folks will see them on TV and see one side of them, but to be able to get an insight to Jock Peterson or to get an insight to Brandon Belt, in his Maserati at a gas station,
True story.
is just, it's great. And the time that Brandon Crawford spent with us, and Blake Trinan gave us 2 episodes worth of just his heart and what matters to him. So lucky, so blessed. It started with the sunflower seed eating contest. You could check the tape. I think I did okay in that. But yeah, to go start there and to finish here is pretty spectacular. And then you put Flick Money in the mix, and it's like it just goes from good to great. So yeah, really really thankful for you guys and thankful for this, man.
Yeah, once it became a three-headed monster, then I feel like we can all come from different places. We all are on the same boat, but we got slightly different lenses that we look through, and that just makes this cornucopia. This makes it a whole. It's not just lettuce, man. It's a salad with corn and beans and Fruity Pebbles. Uh, Flick Money, what you've been here
Speaking of
about a
Fruity
quarter of this
Pebbles.
time. Yeah, speaking of Fruity Pebbles, that's probably what you had for breakfast. What since you have jumped on, what's maybe been your highlight? And but I will say last week we took off because we were doing our playbook, and those of you that attended our playbook, that was phenomenal. It was ridiculous in such a beautiful way. The community we're building there is awesome. If you missed it, we'll do another one before the baseball season starts in Little League there in February. So look out for that. But Flick Money, what's been your highlight so far? 100th episode.
Yeah, on the content side, I really the episode that stands out for me is did we just save Little League? Or did we just fix Little League? Sorry, not save it. It didn't necessarily be saved, but did we just fix Little League? And
It's a good one.
yeah, just there's so much. That's where really the flexed years of collective years of coaching, playing, and teaching the game really showed up. I love that episode. And then just as a personal highlight, because of this, someone listening to this talk to someone else and talk to someone else, and now I'm getting, I've been generating like work out of this, totally aside where I'm getting to work with some youth organizations and talk about mental health for players and coaches and talk about how mental health can support peak performance, which can support character development. These are not mutually exclusive ideas. This fusion that we're doing, kind of alchemy of pulling together these ideas to that major league character will actually create the kind of teams and results you want. It supports it. It's not an either or kind of an idea. And so I just think that's so important and so valuable. And it's helping me as a parent remember to pull together these ideas as well. And so as my kids go through some tough developmental stages, so it's just it's something that's bigger than the sum of the parts, and I just feel so grateful to be a part of it.
Beautiful. Well, one thing we did last week on our playbook is we had a VIP session. It got me thinking, man, just having 10 moms and dads in there asking questions, having a back and forth conversation like a round table. Um, Kind of makes me want to do it a little more often. So, listeners, look out. Well, we might start opening up some Zoom sessions with me and Flick Money and Chopper, um, and just keep the conversation going in these cold months. I'm sure there's basketball being played and some baseball here and there, but um, I really enjoy just not only listening to your questions, but also uh, inspiring to learn from you guys, to learn from the listeners, and just to see how much people do care. Like you got to really care to tune into a podcast weekly and then ask really thoughtful questions about how to become better at this volunteer job you're doing. That takes a special person. So we've got a community of a couple thousand that are special. And listeners, that's a thank you to you for jumping on, whether it was halfway. For those of you that have been here all the way from the start, like my mom and my dad and my mother-in-law, and probably a few other family members, uh, big hand raised. And one loyal listener did bring this up. Why have we not brought our ladies on? We've teased it, but the Diesel, Mrs. Ballgame, we've got Mrs. Flick Money in the house, the sweetest gal in the world. Um, we'll have to bring them on. Just bring the ladies on, and it. I think it'll embarrass us in ways, and it will build us up. And I mean, there might be an argument on the other side of it, and that's healthy too, is what I've learned. Is if you're so, healthy amounts of arguing can be startling for our daughters at first, but if you this is for real. This is actually real talk. Like letting our daughters know that mom and dad don't always just rosy posy happy lovey-dovey. Like sometimes things need to be figured out, and showing them how we can figure things out in a way of dignity that's not malicious or hateful or loud. And then we can get to the other side of it and kind of explain it to our kids. I think that's a cool way. Uh, it's a just like with coaching kids. Like we're human, we're adults, but we're human, and we can get to the other side of controversy in a way that has character. And Chopper, I think this is a good segue for a story you've got of adults trying to figure things out, and sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed. So the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, we had our tournament over the weekend, our 9U tournament. So first tournament for this group, and super excited to have them get out there, and just a tremendous group. So we get out there, and believe it or not, it rained a little bit in Tucson. So you've got like rain in the forecast, which is like, wow, that's what's that all about? But play great the first day. We get the first game, we get a win, and then we tie, which was a great tie against a team from Mexico, a tremendous team, well coached. Jorge's the name of the coach, and I was really impressed with him. They've got 4 teams out there in Hermosillo, and just blown away. I mean, you got little 8-year-olds that are bunting and like doing all kinds of just great stuff. It was a high school team filled, high school philosophies by 8-year-olds. I was so impressed. And so we tied them, and then we go into bracket play, which is your everyone outside of us is like, oh, we're playing for the ship. No, you're just competing on Sunday. You should probably be at church, but instead you're on a baseball field, which can also be church. And so we win the first game. We end up getting the 4 seed. We beat the 1 seed handily. We mercy ruled them, and so we're going into this championship game, aka the ship, and we're down 3-0. We're the 4 seed. We're playing against the 3 seed, and the tournament director comes out. It's raining the whole time. It's cold. It's in the low 50s. It's raining consistently, but it is Tucson, so it never rains. So the field really needed the rain. And so it's the best condition this field's ever been in. And the tournament director came out and he was like, hey guys, we're probably just going to have 1 inning left, and then we're probably going to have to call it. The field's getting a little bit worse. We don't want anybody to get hurt. And so we're down 3-0. And I tell our boys, like, hey, this is going to be it. Like, let's give it everything we got. Let's get some base runners on. Let's make it weird. And we score 4 runs, take the lead, and now we've got to go out and shut them out. They're the home team. They're the higher seed. So the whole world knows this is it. Like, we get 3 outs, that's ball game. And get 2 outs. There's a runner on third, tying run on third. This kid, their best hitter, hits a rocket to our second baseman. He gives him a 1 hop, like, oh, it's in my glove, throws to first. Ball game. We're throwing our gloves in the air. We're essentially dogpiling in the mud. We're going crazy. And we won, and we know we won, and the other team knows we won. And so we do that. We shake hands and we're walking off, and the tournament director goes, hey, you have to go talk to my boss. He's got to tell you something. I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. So I run over there, thank him for the tournament. And he goes, hey, yeah, sorry, man. Like per our bylaws, we have to give the rings to the other team. And the other coach runs over, and I go, what do you mean? Like it was a 6-inning game. We're going into the 4th. Like it's the game. We won the game. Like our kids are celebrating. The other team knows they lost. What do we got? And he's like, I know, but it's the rules. Like I go, okay, well, like, and I told the other coaches, like, if the roles were reversed, I would gladly say, you guys, we all know that was the last inning. You didn't hold it, so I would give you the rings. That's easy. And the other coach is like, no, I can't do that. My kids are going to go home sad. Like, what do I tell my kids? It's like, well, you told them that it's okay, but they lost. Like that's a good life lesson. You don't always get to win, and this is something you can learn from. And he's like, no, I'm taking the rings. Like those are the rules. We're not going to break the rules for you or your program. I was like, all right, okay. So we won the game, but you're going to take the rings. Perfect. Sounds good. All right. What do I tell my kids? And he's like, I don't know, but I don't care. And he runs off. He's like, we won. We won. He runs over to his group that somehow won without by scoring less runs. And so I went to my group, and they're like, Coach, what happened? I said, well, here's the thing. You get to have 2 choices. Do you want to be the team that won the tournament that doesn't get a ring, which is not why we play, or the team that lost the tournament and got rings? And so they're like, we want to be the team that won. I'm like, bet. There you go. So that's That's it. We'll celebrate tomorrow at practice. We'll figure it out. But the moral of the story is you guys were down 3 runs. You knew what you had to do and you did it. And I'm so proud of you. And so we familyed on 3. And then the coolest part of the story is my older kids got wind of it, my 11U. So Bo Chop and some of his friends, and they're like, we're making sure those boys get their rings. We've got plenty. And so they scrounged up 12 rings that we were able to hand out at practice just last night, the day after this happened. And that was the coolest moment for me as a coach, because that's character, that's heart, that's empathy. And these are rings that this older group has won, but they're like, no, we want to make sure that that 9U experience is a ring on their first championship. So a really cool moment. It's also spreads a big spotlight on what's wrong with club baseball, because you've got a coach who's only cares about the ring and only cares about the quote unquote win, instead of like, this happened to me 6, 7 years ago, where I was in a tournament and my team lost on a Sunday. So we're going home and the tournament director runs over to me. The other team's celebrating. We're packing up and going to go home. And he goes, "Hey, no, you guys are advancing because of a run differential or something." I was like, "No, sir, they beat us. They're advancing. We're going home. Like that, we're not going to win on a technicality. That group beat us. They're advancing." He's like, "No, you guys have to say." I'm like, "Well, we're leaving because we lost. So if you want to continue this tournament, the team that just beat us, they can play. We're going home." And so I can speak with honesty and clarity that if it was on the other side of it, and I've shown that, I would not have made that decision. But that's what's wrong with club baseball. What do I tell my
Oh,
kids? That you lost and it's okay.
Uh, uh, wow, so much to unpack, and I'm gonna give the microphone to Flick Money here in a minute. 3 things that stood out. One, when a conversation starts with "per our bylaws," is it ever gonna go in a great direction?
The red
Per
flag.
the bylaws. I mean,
It's a red flag.
whether that's fire insurance, bird law, whatever, it's probably going to go in a dark direction. So deep breath when you hear that. 2, the next day at practice, instead of the trophies or rings, did you bring them 12 1987 Carney Lansford baseball cards instead?
Should
Because
have
that's a missed op if
missed
you
an
didn't.
opportunity.
Like, guys did not get a ring with diamonds and gold,
Yeah.
but that mustache has both.
Got to make a bylaw. That's the new bylaw. Carney
Yeah,
Lansford cards.
exactly. 3, I'm proud of you. It's easy to sit here at this desk in front of this microphone and preach integrity and priorities, but you were able to push away that need to win the ring. It was fair. I mean, and it wasn't fair for you. Like it was unfair, but you were able in the moment to prioritize and just set these kids up to be better adults. So good on you for practicing what you preach, because that ain't easy. Flick Money, the floor is yours. That's an unpacker right there.
I mean, you've caught so much of it, Coach, but let's just stop and honor Bo Chop with the heralded sportsmanship salute. Arms straight up, give it up, because what an outstanding sign that the stuff you're teaching as a parent and coach is sinking in to not just Bo, but it sounds like his teammates as well.
Nolan
And
Bednors, shout out to Nolan Bednors. His dad texted me and said, "I heard you're looking for rings. Nolan's wants to give his up." And other boys would have too, the whole group. But Noli was into.
I mean, Bo Chop and a kid named Nolan Bednorris. I mean, if there's any doubt that this stuff it matters,
Yeah.
that's incredible. And you know, and with that is the sort of underlying sadness of knowing this is the tip of the iceberg of how many places adults can get in the way of and jack up what should be pure joy and love of the game and competition for kids. Try explaining that to an 8-year-old, like, well, here's the way that thing laid out. It's just like, no, that's not how life should work. But that's sadly, we have adults in the way. So thank goodness that some world class kids out there are cared enough about an 8-year-old experience to make sure that they went away in a way that made sense to them. So just big love and for Nolan and Bo Chop.
Well done. Great culture you built. And this is the topic we talk about maybe every episode, is that healthy balance of um, teaching how to win, but it's not the life or death all end all be all. A healthy balance between winning a game and then big picture, I guess. And uh, yeah, well, I guess we unpack it with different subtopics every week. But in my mind, it's like it just makes sense. Like what's with the chasing that ring? Why does it mean so much when they're nine? And there's so much more in the forest than that one tree. But I I think it's a real reason why there's problems in club ball and toxicity and Chopper. Maybe you can speak to that. Help me understand why that guy has to chase that ring, why you didn't have to. What's the difference between you two? Obviously, without being demeaning towards the other, but maybe that'll bring some clarity for me and the listener on how do you find this healthy balance?
Yeah. So it comes back to process. It comes back to process, and it comes back to, can we control what we can control? And so often, I had this conversation with my nephew on the way to school this morning. He's on the 10U. Um, and he said, Coach, I think he might have called me Uncle Chad, but he said, would you rather lose a tournament but learn a really good lesson, or would you rather win a tournament and not learn anything? And I was like, very easy. I'd rather lose every day of the week, because winning doesn't matter until you're on TV. And so, um, and we know this as coaches, like we welcome the adversity. On the field adversity is an absolute gift from God, because we get to make sure the boys know, hey, that's okay. I've made that mistake, and give them kind of tools and equip them with first of all, how do you learn from it so that you can make sure it doesn't happen in the future? But more importantly, like just forgive themselves. So often a kid makes a mistake and you call them over just to love them, but then explain to them what they can fix, and then love them again. And they're already welling up in tears. And it's like, hang on a second. You put your hand on their heart and you're just like, dude, first of all, it's okay. Hey, it's okay. Here's what we can do next time. And this was a great example on Saturday. The game that we tied, one of our boys just didn't have a good secondary at third, and he was kind of reacting back as the pitch was crossing the plate. Then he went and he was out by an eyelash at home. So he was in tears. I brought him over. I said, hey, first of all, it's okay. This is what we can do next time. I said, were you anticipating, or were you thinking about coming back? He's like, I was thinking about coming back. I'm like, hey, next time, just think anticipate, and then you'll make it easy. Well, fast forward 24 hours later, same play, same rep, and he did it. And so and he was so like cloud nine, and I gave him a big hug and I was like, dude, like you did it. That was the exact play as yesterday. It was so awesome. And he was so happy. So the alternative as a coach is to yell and scream at a kid when he makes a mistake, and then he just doesn't want to play anymore. He doesn't learn anything other than baseball sucks and parents are the worst and coaches stink, and he wants to go do something else. So I think it's just that difference of like, I welcome adversity. And listen, you guys know me well enough. I'm as competitive as it gets. Until
Yeah.
there's 3 outs in the final inning, I'm going to try to find a way to help our group find a way to win.
And I'm
But
sure a part of you was burning up a little bit, like, our kids deserve those rings. There had to be a competitive part of you that felt that.
well, it wasn't they deserved a ring. It was more that it's their first tournament. So you want them to have something to commemorate it.
Mhm.
And so like that was my only thought, was like, man, this is our first one. So it is cool that, God puts that in there of me having to, if it was my 11, you'd be like, okay, yeah, cool story, dude. In fact, next time we win, you can have the rings again. Don't care. But with this group, I was like, dang, this is their first one. How do I explain this to them? But then from the walk from the tournament director's table back, it got very easy, because the easiest way for me to describe it is, you get two choices in this scenario, boys. Do you want to be the group that found a way in a really tough spot against a really good pitcher and grinded and won that moment? Or do you want to be the group that, by a technicality, um, they get, this $5 ring?
And look at the ripple effect of that choice
Yeah.
is those 9-year-olds learning a great lesson, those 11-year-olds having a chance to feel empathy,
Empathy.
and show some leadership. I want to go psychological, dig deeper with Flick Money on the other side. What's underneath that coach having to have those rings? I'm sure every listener has played against that type of coach. So I saw an interaction with Jason Kelsey this past weekend where there was some hateful speak, and he reacted. He responded with hate himself, and he apologized for that last night before the Monday Night Football. He said, "That's not productive. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have responded to hate with hate." That can be a reaction, a normal one, but what was going on underneath the guy that, nah, dude, got to have the rings.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. It's insecurity. You feel like that memorabilia is tangible evidence of a job well done, and in most cases, it is. And it's not like his kids didn't do a good job. They also were playing a good game and gave up the lead in an inning, in the third or fourth inning of a game. That happens. Would they have bounced back? We don't know. But the inability to see, uh, what bothers me in the travel ball world is the argument for it is we're about winning. This isn't participation trophies. This is, this is America. And so, okay, cool. So here we are. Here's your opportunity. It was settled on the field. Did we get as much of the game as we wanted to? Nope. But that's an act of God that it's raining in Tucson. Let's all do a rain dance and celebrate because we need the water. And the game was won. So this is your opportunity to say, how much do you really believe that? Well, no, now we're going to backtrack into the world of technicalities. And so that's just that need to engineer it to use influence. And then it comes down to who was seated higher. Well, that's an adult decision. Now we've got adult decision on adult decision, how you were seated to start with. So I just feel, I just feel like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors here covering a lot of adults engineering this memorabilia for kids. And he said it perfectly to Chad. He tipped his hand when he says, what am I like, I don't want my kids to be sad. Well, you know what? The discomfort of telling your kids, you know what, we gave up the goat there in the last inning, we lost. That's part of them learning. So let's come back and have a great week of practice. Let's learn from this. The opportunity is now missed because what you've taught kids is on technicalities and adult decisions, engineering things. You can get what you want, and I just think that's a scary message.
Out of the 10,000 answers I got to the question I posed on social media of why do you get anxious at your kids' games, 90% of them was a fear of their kid being sad, a fear of their kid being upset. They've worked hard for this, and then they're upset and they're sad. And we're here to inspire every one of you listeners. That's an opportunity, right? They're 8, they're 9, they're 10. They're going to gain so much more by that lesson that we can teach them of overcoming adversity. So I, I think every interaction that you have at games with people that are win at all cost, negative to the umpires, it is really hard in the moment not to fight fire with fire. But if you can teach yourself to react in a way of that person's crying for help, they're yelling at the umpire, they seem like they are the blowhard that is in charge. Meanwhile, if they're that anxious, and if it's so life or death that they have to do this at a 7, 8, 9-year-old game, that's a cry for help. There has been some serious trauma that needs to get um, scooped into and figured out. So that's going to help you instead of reacting with fire to that fire with more of a sprinkle, more of a hose. And it sometimes you take it personal what people say, and I totally understand that. If I'm watching my daughter play a game and I hear hateful speak about her, bang, it goes to protective mode, and um, let's take it out back, buddy. But that is right, Flick Money. That's a cry for help. if we're going into the science of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's some way that um, I don't feel enough as a coach, as a teacher, as a parent, as a person that allowing the process to be instructive for the kids. I need the short term. It's like candy. I need the short. What I'm really missing is nourishment, real nourishment. But I want the Werther's butterscotch of a ring in order to validate who I am as a person and my existence. Is that's a deep seated need, coach. And I agree with you. It's a hopefully an opportunity down the road. But if Chopper never gets to see that guy or that team again, um, boy, that 9U team, they are getting a healthy dose of adult reality and already, welcome to travel ball, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say this too. If you're up against that, what I've learned, and I'm not perfect at this, is just try to react slower. So, like the way my mind works, when someone says something, I can quickly have a comeback or have something where I can maybe, for lack of a better term, win the argument or win the moment with my words or my mind. Um, but just react slower. Like give pause. If you're feeling that emotion of I've been wronged or that guy said something that's false or unfair, try to take a deep breath and really try to process. Like we were all taught, think before you speak. That really helps me. And I'm not perfect at it, nowhere near, and I probably never will be. But reacting slower really helps me in those moments and try to look through the lens of the kids are watching how I respond.
This is a good segue into the next topic I want to talk about, which is the World Series, Dodgers Yankees. If that 9U ring, I'm going to say that if 10 is top priority, I'm going to say that ring was maybe 2. Um, where do you think, and Chopper, I'll start with you. Where should the ring be prioritized on that ladder for the Dodgers and the Yankees? Before we kind of unpack why the Dodgers won, why the Yankees lost, it's definitely, they're on TV. So wins matter when you're on TV. You have to feed your family with those wins. If Doc Roberts doesn't beat the Padres, who knows? He might be fired. Now he's probably got a good 10-year contract and his family's good to go. But still, and specifically for the Yankees and Aaron Boone and their lens, at that highest level, where should that ring be prioritized? 1 to 10, 10 being the highest priority.
I mean, I'll tell you what, we talk about it a lot, but at that major league level in the World Series, it's the highest ranking that can be. And there's a reason for that. You brought it up. Doc's probably not managing the Dodgers anymore if they don't win that World Series. And now he's a Hall of Famer. He's got 25% of the storied franchise, the Los Angeles Dodgers World Series rings. He has 2 out of 8. He's going to win 3 or 4 more before this thing's said and done. So starts there. He's providing for his family. And so it's important there. It's important for the organization. You've got not just the players on the field, you've got the support staff, everyone around this organization that just got $500,000 in a playoff share. Right. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so there's no other reason why you play Major League Baseball other than to win the championship. That's everyone's goal in spring training. There's only probably 5, 6, 7 teams that actually have a chance to win it every year. But that is everything to that team. That is, if you're ranking it from 1 to 10, that's 1,000 out of 10. It's why they play. It's all that matters. It's almost like you invert it from what club ball and little league should be. It's the polar opposite.
Flick Money, with that polar opposite, why did the Dodgers come out on top? I'll ask you both this, and I have ideas. I posted a video on social media as well about why I think the Dodgers won, but why'd they win, Flicky?
From my vantage point, I'm always interested in watching the psychology, the body language, what's happening in the mind-body connection. And it was clear for me early on that of course, there's going to be guys on both teams that are pressing a little bit. There's going to be some guys on both teams that seem more dialed in. The World Series always has these great stories of sort of the role players that step up and do something great. But on the whole, top to bottom, including Doc Roberts, I could just see there was more um, kind of relaxation, like a hyper focused, relaxed, competitive look in the eyes and the body language. We talked about it on, I think it was the last episode. I felt like a judge was pressing. So when your big dog's pressing, that can have sort of an energetic ripple out through your lineup. And and then when they got in the real high stress situation there in game 5, the wheels kind of came off a little bit. And I just think the body and the mind can only take so much stress at a certain level, and then it's going to have to dissipate it. And it dissipated it in the Yankees with some lack of focus in some really key areas. That was that sort of the body and mind being done with it. Whereas if they had spent more time, I don't claim to know what Booney does versus what Doc Roberts does, but my sense is that Doc Roberts is a little more into the holistic player and a little more into the training of the mind, the visualization stuff that Mookie came on here and talked about, the breathing things. I loved that mound meeting where Doc Roberts says to Blake Trinan, I trust you, I trust you. I mean, just a powerful power. Like, this is my livelihood, this is my family's well-being on the line. I trust you. Just really powerful signs that, that mind, body, spirit connection was kind of rolling for the Dodgers and a little bit out of sync for the Yankees. And so that's the lens that I came through and noticed it throughout the series.
Yeah, there were articles written in mid-season saying if the Yankees lose in the playoffs, it'll be because of the little things, the defense, the base running, and I don't know if it was prioritized more by the Dodgers specifically. Chopper, maybe I'll throw it to you. It was. I knew it'd be something random. I knew it'd be the little things. Freddie Freeman showed up. He was amazing. Garrett Cole showed up. He pitched really, really well. But it did come down to some little things. What was the difference?
Well, you had two insights after the World Series was over. One was Kike Hernandez's interview, and he talked about how they played the best team in baseball in the Padres and beat them. Then they played the hottest team in baseball in the Mets and they beat them. Then they played the mighty Yankees and they beat them. So they were able to trick their minds into, hey, we're the underdog. The pressure's not on us, which is a critical component, one that they haven't been able to do in the past. Even when I was there in 2020, man, it was stressful because they know they're the best team. They have this process where they win 100 plus games, 2 out of 3 games. For the 3 years I was there, on average, they won 2 out of 3 games every year. Like that was the average. So it's like you do this the whole season, then the postseason comes around. Instead of it being this competitive advantage of our process is better than everyone else's, it becomes this, oh crap, we have to win. We're the best team. So they were able to trick their mind with those things. And then Joe Kelly just came out with an interview and he talked about how they knew that the Yankees didn't do the little things well. They were the worst defensive team in baseball. Their base running is horrible. They basically just hit home runs. They just slug, but they don't pay attention to detail. PFPs, all that stuff's bad. So all they had to do, and this is what Joe Kelly said, was all we had to do was play Dodger baseball. Something that I've been saying when I was there of like, hey guys, we don't have to do anything more than what we've been doing. There should not be added stress or pressure on us. We're the best team. The other team is the one that has to push and press and find something extra, an extra gear. We don't need that. So for me, it was so like heartwarming to hear that they found a way to get to that mindset of like, oh, we don't have to do anything more than what we do, than who we are, our identity. And this is what I tell players of like, hey, I don't need anything more than James Lowe right now. I don't need you to do anything above and beyond. I don't need Babe Ruth. I just need James Lowe. I just need a line drive to right center, and I've seen you do it 1,000 times. Just give me you. That's all I need. It's more than enough. And so they did that, and they won the World Series.
I wonder if it was flipped because when you look at Game 5, Judge was definitely pressing, and he looked up at Kike before he caught the fly ball. Okay, fine. Not too much harm. Volpe was pressing, and he yanked that throw to third base. Brooks Robinson's not catching that ball at third base. And Garrett Cole had to throw 40 pitches, so maybe just said, I'm tired. I'm not going to go cover first base. Maybe he was just winded. He was done. And that PFP that Mookie Betts was hustling on, that was a winner. What if Freddie doesn't hit the grand slam in game one? What if it's Yankees up 3-1? Are the Dodgers pressing in that situation? Or is the culture that you talk about of we just have to play Dodger baseball, it's going to happen? Do you think it would have happened differently? Or does Kike miss that fly ball? Does Rojas or Edmund pull the throw to third? Does Trinan not cover first base? What do you think, Chopper, if it was Yankees 3, Dodgers 1? Because, I mean, that Freddie Freeman grand slam sure helped. That really made a huge difference. What do you think?
Yeah, I go back to '88, the last time I got the chills watching a baseball game, and the Dodgers had no business beating the A's, and they swept them. And that was the case of the A's being the better team. I think here the Dodgers were the better team, but I don't think we can dismiss if the Yankees get game one, it would have put a lot of pressure on the Dodgers in game two. So I think it's a coin flip. If the Yankees had won game one, I think the pressure switches to game two on the Dodgers for sure. And you just don't know what that looks like. That's Yamamoto, I believe, on the bump game two. Yeah.
Who dealt? Yeah, it's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing. Flick Money, what do you think on that note? It was pressure the difference there, pressing.
Well, it'd been interesting. We don't know, but the Dodgers in every high leverage situation, they came through. So in other words, if we were looking for their reaction to stressful situations, they were down in game one, and they got they didn't. Freddie hit a grand slam because three other guys got on base. So there was plenty of opportunities. There's plenty of data to say they were just dialed in. You know,
Padres, they're down 2-1 to the Pods.
That's right. Plenty of opportunities to say, like, what's this team really made of? And they kept showing what they were made of, and that ability to hyper focus, to be calm, to make the right play, to make the right base running play, to make the great defensive play. Like they just make the pitch over and over and over and over. That's a pattern of that's what a champion looks like. I've been watching the Netflix documentary. I watched it twice now on the comeback of the Red Sox. You know,
watch it, folks. It's great.
It's
I stayed up
unbelievable.
till 1 a.m. last night watching the whole thing, and it made me think Grady Little in 03 comes out, does the same thing Doc did with Trinan. I trust you, Pedro. You're our guy, and it didn't work.
It was the opposite because Pedro knew he was done, and Pedro was told that he was done, and so he mentally had to do kind of a gymnastics thing. Grady kind of flipped on him and asked him for one more batter, asked him for one more inning, and then kept asking him. And so I think emotionally that was hard on Pedro, who was like, you know, he had a sense that his stuff was slipping. But I would the thing with the Red Sox that just really hits you is that you know, there's that moment where Kevin Millar's like, when they're down 3-0, and Kevin Millar's like, don't let us get hot today. Like, don't, you know, you just have to have that collective personality of, we can be loose with our backs against the wall. We can still we can get that hyper focus through looseness. And, you know, David Ortiz was not only, he just had that Freddie Freeman-esque ability to be dialed in at the most high leverage moments and not be tight. Manny always seemed to hit really well in big situations either. So they had that gift. I don't know if it was something Francona was teaching breathing. I just think they had a personality group, but it seems like now that the science has evolved. I feel like Doc's teaching some great stuff. Obviously, Mookie came on this podcast and talked about some of the stuff he does, the visualization, the breathing. These high stress moments are when all that mental work pays off. That's when you see the fruit of all those efforts. So I loved it, man.
Yeah, it's the fruit of all of their youth coaches taking opportunities to teach life lessons and overcoming adversity rather than winning a ring. Yeah, that's what it comes down to right there. And you see it at the highest level, whether that's Major League Baseball or some other walk of life. It does come down to this big picture. So 100 episodes of preaching the big picture, and learning a lot along the way. I'm super proud, and I love this community that we're continuing to grow. So the only other thing I have is Chopper can't make it, but me and Flick Money will be in Texas in just a few days. We're going to hit Austin with Coach Texie and Jamie for a girls' sandlot in Austin, Texas. I'll also be in Arlington. We'll be in Salado, Texas, and Beaumont with Jay Bruce. So it's the final swing of the 2024 tour. 60 cities up, 60 down. So if you're in Texas, come on down because there's a coach's clinic attached to these 3-hour kids camps. Bring your notebooks and bring your kids. That's all I got. You guys got anything else to close up? Come on, 100 episodes.
Happy birthday, buddy. Hope you have a great day. We love you. And safe travels to Texas, boys. Have fun.
We'll miss you. We'll be thinking of you. Maybe we can Skype you in if you have your Skype.
Love a good Skype.
Flick Money, any thoughts for all the questions that have been coming in? We will hit them hard next week and the weeks to follow as I'm building a whole sheet of all your questions. So dial it in and listen to prior episodes because we've probably answered your question in a previous episode. But Flick Money, anything wise for our crew?
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. The wisdom is listen to more Stevie Wonder. Coach, I am so grateful for your brotherhood, for your life, for your life's work, your heart, and what an honor. So grateful, and just I hope you just have the best day, man. Looking forward to Texas. The stars at night are big and bright.
And the
Deep
barbecue
in
tastes
the
pretty
heart
good.
of Texas. Yeah.
And we always end with what word, Chopper?
You got to rake, boys.
Bang.
Bang.